It's Monday, July 13th, 2020. I'm Tanya Harris, and welcome to TMI Daily, your daily roundup of everything people are talking about online since they aren't allowed to talk about it in person. This morning, Donald Trump retweeted former Love Connection and Wheel of Fortune game show host Chuck Woolery, who claims that the CDC, our doctors, and the media are all lying about the coronavirus crisis in order to hurt the economy and Trump's reelection campaign. The president retweeting Woolery makes complete sense considering he's been spinning the wheel of misfortune since January. After having a 3-year prison sentence commuted on Friday, Roger Stone said in an interview today that he will immediately go to work helping Donald Trump get reelected. If this works out for Trump, the president will be more than happy to pardon Stone for it in his second term. Over the weekend, Trump wore a mask in public for the first time since the start of the coronavirus pandemic for a photo op at Walter Reed Hospital. Hey, he didn't tear gas anyone to get the photo this time, so that's something, right? Big boy suit wearing Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is facing criticism after saying on Friday that if you can open Home Depot and Walmart, you can definitely open schools. To be fair, if the school kids could offer the same low prices, value, and convenience that these retailers do, maybe we'd value their well-being just a little bit more. Tucker Carlson's top writer resigned from his show after it was discovered that he was secretly posting racist, sexist, and homophobic remarks in an online forum. I guess this was like a stand-up comic going to a small club to test material before it goes on air. New York officials have reported 0 coronavirus deaths for the first time since March. Now they can go back to the good old days of run-of-the-mill gunshot wounds. Google has banned ads for spying apps that let jealous people monitor their partners. From now on, the only spying ads Google will allow will be their own. It's official. Dan Snyder, the owner of the Washington Redskins, announced that they will be changing the name of the franchise, and the new name will be announced at a future date. Considering that their fight to keep the name was about 30 years tone deaf, the new name should come around 2050. Britain's Channel 4 has ordered a documentary series about the Spice Girls. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. Not a Spice Girls documentary. After online viewers and celebrities like 50 Cent mocked Will Smith for not being more upset about his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, revealing her relationship with August Alsina on her show Red Table Talk, a video of Will from 2018 surfaced today in which he claimed to have retired from trying to make Jada happy. This should quiet all of the critics since Will, like all retirees, really can't complain when the company brings in a new guy to fill his position. Now let's send it over to tonight's TMI Daily Cast and Crew Roundtable. Stay safe.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another week of TMI Daily. I'm Veronica Aiello. Later on today, we're going to be joined by musical comedian J. Randall Medina. So make sure you stick around for that. And as always, I'm joined by some of our TMI family from TMI Hollywood. Let's go around and say hello to everybody watching at home or listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify to our TMI Daily podcast. Let's start with you, Elizabeth.
Howdy-ho, listenerinos.
Shayna.
Hello, listeners on Spotify, Apple, or platform of your choice. Insert here.
Jess.
What's up, YouTube? You could follow me at the Just Ellis on Twitter, and make sure to go to us and like and subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Thanks for that. Chris.
Yes, what's up?
Emma.
Hey, y'all. How you doing?
Stuart.
Hey.
And Joe.
Hi, everyone on all the other podcast things and everyone who's listening on Apple. Man, I tell you, I hate it too that everyone thinks our Priuses are slow.
Okay, so let's get started. This morning, Donald Trump decided to retweet former game show host turned right-wing conspiracy theorist Chuck Woolery, who wrote, "The most outrageous lies are the ones about COVID-19. Everyone is lying. The CDC, media, Democrats, our doctors, not all, but most, that we are told to trust. I think it's all about the election and keeping the economy from coming back, which is about the election. I'm sick of it. Now, just so we're clear, this was Chuck Woolery, who hosted Wheel of Fortune and Love Connection, who graduated from a Kentucky high school before going into the Navy and then became a wine consultant for several years. That Chuck Woolery is saying that people shouldn't trust doctors. Does anyone want to argue on behalf of Chuck? Oh, but before you do, I also wanted to say that Chuck was the original host of Wheel of Fortune, but left in 1981 over a salary dispute. Pat Sajak took over in 81 and has been the host since, and reportedly gets paid $15 million a year to host the show. Chuck Woolery does a right-wing podcast and doesn't make $15 million. So who wants to take Chuck's side? Okay, let's start with you, Jess.
I think I'm going to come as close to you as you can to supporting his side, because I just try to see reason where there's reason. Number one, first of all, I want to point out that we're all about to sit here and speculate on COVID like we're all fucking, doctors and disease experts, which we're not, and neither is Chuck. So whatever we say is about as valid as Chuck Woolery. You should go ahead and just start with that. So it's horseshit. Should you trust doctors? Yes, I've been saying this all along on this podcast, and even getting chewed up for it from you guys when, originally Dr. Fauci said, don't wear masks. So did the Attorney General. And in fact, the Attorney General was just on CNN the other day, defending that position. Yes, the doctors have been wrong. Should you trust all doctors? Probably not. I mean, should you use logic and reason to figure out what they're saying? Yes. Was there political motives for what Dr. Fauci, the Attorney General, and other people said? Who knows? But I think that's as close as I'll get to defending Chuck Woolery. He's just speculating, and we have been lied to. Those are facts. I mean, the news does misreport the numbers. Those are facts. The hospitals are misreporting numbers. Those are facts. There's all sorts of bullshit we're getting from all sorts of sides. So I can understand his point of view, why he's skeptical.
But can you defend the president retweeting him?
Why? The
I'm not asking you to. I'm just
I'm trying to think about that, honestly. No, I know you're always in good faith, Elizabeth. He does have the First Amendment behind him, but I think that's about it. I think it's irresponsible of the president, and I think he shouldn't be taking sides. But that being said, I think that's where Veronica was going to go with it.
Yeah, sorry if I cut you off.
No,
I just wanted to say really quick, just a couple minutes ago, they just reported that the last time Fauci mentioned not wearing masks was mid-March. So I just wanted to throw that as part of the conversation. Go ahead, Jeff. What were you saying?
Yeah, but that's why the public is mistrustful, is the conflicting reports, and not everybody understands that science changes the more data you get. People hope that it's just one thing and it stays that way forever, which it seldom is. I forgot the point I was going to make about, was Donald Trump. Was it irresponsible of Donald Trump to retweet Chuck Woolery? Yes. I know everybody's going to be criticizing. I think that's a later question, actually, and I don't want to get to it.
I might have jumped ahead. My bad.
Okay, it's okay. Stuart.
Well, just on something Jess said. He said that we should trust doctors and not people who aren't doctors. We should, let the doctors talk. And then he also immediately referenced the Attorney General, who is
I'm sorry, I meant the Surgeon General.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
The Attorney General is not a doctor.
No.
You're a juris doctor.
Well,
yeah.
Okay. Not a medical doctor.
The Attorney General may not be an attorney. I mean, Trump did hire him. So.
I mean, who knows if he's actually, I don't fucking know. Maybe not.
No, I meant the Surgeon General, which is, the top doc that we're supposed to be listening to.
Yeah. Well, also, the description of Chuck Woolery as former game show host turned right-wing conspiracy theory nut is also the same description as Donald Trump. I mean, former game show host turned right-wing conspiracy theory nut.
Well, there's, I don't know, what conspiracy theories.
I mean, I'm shocked they haven't been more friendly.
So, but how far does the conspiracy theory go? Because the entire world has been affected by the coronavirus. So you're trying to tell me that all of these countries got together and we're like, hey, wait, guys,
it's so dumb.
Guys, we're going to do this just to mess up the Republicans' economy. Like,
Are we-
hey,
As
Germany,
with all-
hold on, Germany. I got Greece on the line. Yo, Greece, can you hang on for a second? I'm talking to Germany. Yo, Italy, can you fudge it up? I mean, come on, guys.
Is
the
he
whole
a
world has experienced coronavirus. It's not a conspiracy theory.
I didn't hear that part. All Veronica said was he's a right-wing
Well, no,
conspiracy
Veronica,
theorist.
did he not say that?
Is he
Was he
an anti?
What was your question, Joe?
Chuck Woolery, did he not say that this is like some sort of conspiracy theory that to ruin the economy?
Yes.
Is that in the quote?
That was. Let me go back and read it. Give me 1 second. I will.
Sure, because I'm pretty sure that's what I heard.
Well, as with all conspiracy theories, it goes all the way to the top.
Yes, Joe, you heard correctly.
The most
she's gonna
outrageous
reread
lies
it,
are the
but
ones
you
about
did.
COVID-19. Everyone is lying. The CDC, media, Democrats, our doctors, and then not all but most that we are told to trust. I think it's all about the election and keeping the economy from coming back, which is about the election. I'm
Right.
saying.
So we took we called the whole world and said, listen, we want to adjust the election. We want you all to join in on this.
All right, to
Bullshit.
advocate for Chuck a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and say that I fully believe that both parties are trying to take advantage of the calamity that's befalling us to their best, like for their own interests. Of course they are. If they weren't, they'd be bad politicians. So they're using trying to use the crisis to their advantage. And I think that, you know, a lot of doctors have been lying by misreporting numbers. There's so much misinformation out there, like I said. And now hydroxychloroquine's coming back in the news with new studies and about its efficacy, that it might actually be something that helps. So I think people are very distrustful because of all the conflicting information. And Chuck's one of them.
Okay, I want to read a comment from Danny online. He says, New Zealand's success is attributed to the fact that all their decisions where COVID-19 are concerned were made by scientists, healthcare experts, and not politicians. We need to follow suit. So thanks, Danny, for that. Emma, what did you want to say?
I just want to point out there's a difference between the conspiracy theory that everyone has come together to tank the economy and understanding that politicians are going to use whatever tools they have. Politicians using the calamity at hand, it's not tasteful, but that happens across the board. Absolutely, everybody does that. That's different from saying that all the governments of the world came together to create a hoax just to harm Republicans in this election.
I'm just trying to give the guy the benefit of the doubt because that is crazy. You're right. I mean,
yeah, I just want to make sure we're on the same page about
no, for sure. I'm just trying to provide an alternative point of view. That's all.
Hey, Shayna, then I'm going to move on to my next point. Go ahead, Shayna.
I think a lot of the times that people are confused because people want a definitive. They want a definitive answer, and there aren't any definitives with this. And I think that's the problem, is that we have that thinking as humans. And I think that's the difference with this, is that you kind of have to live in a question mark situation. I think people who have chronic illnesses, and I think people who have survived a long-term illness, know what that question mark feels like and are a little more comfortable in that zone. But I think that's the reality of what we're living with, is that it's a question mark, and we are constantly in the question mark, but it's just not a constant awareness of the question mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you always know your own mortality, but it's like when it feels like there's something that's constantly ringing, or it's constantly being brought up in front of you, that's different than you knowing that you're going to die someday, or something is going to happen to you. You're going to be potentially happen. Does that make sense? I think so.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so according to leaks from inside the White House, the tweet is part of the Trump campaign's new strategy to push the blame for 136,000 deaths and 3.5 million infections due to coronavirus on someone other than Trump. Do you think that anyone beyond Trump's base is going to believe that someone other than Trump is to blame for the handling of the pandemic? But again, before you answer, let me clarify. I'm not saying the pandemic was Trump's fault. I'm asking if you think anyone will believe that the U.S.'s response to the pandemic was anybody but Trump's fault. Chris, let's start with you.
Well, this whole thing, if you look at it as if it was a war, with any war that we've had in history, what's the pattern? poor people die and rich people get richer. That's going to be the pattern. And so when it comes to this whole thing, like Jess said earlier, of course there are going to be people who believe that it's all Trump's fault and that he could have prevented it and stuff like that, because it's like he said, they're politicians. That's what they're going to use this whole thing, no matter if it could have been controlled or if it was out of, the will of anybody, like regardless of the response to it, that people are going to use this to enforce their own political beliefs or get their own political power and get the right numbers into the right places where they want to be. So yeah, it's easy for somebody to use this so somebody else's misery to get to gain. So that's actually what's going to be happening, and that's the hard part of what we have as the people that we have to deal with, because we got to vote for these motherfuckers and they don't give a shit about any of us.
Yeah, I'd like to see somebody show definitively something that was like mismanaged,
right?
That led to like our country as a whole like bumbling this, because there's only so much the federal government can do, and the left was screaming in the very beginning that they wanted more federal government control, and why is it left up to the states? So that right there proves that it's basically the state's fault. It's the individual governors and the municipalities' fault on how they mishandled it. The White House put out the 14 days to slow the spread. And then after that, even despite, Trump saying he wanted to open up for Easter, he listened to the experts like everybody wanted him to do and kept the country closed. And then when they wanted to open, they did the phased opening approach. And again, none of the governors heeded that warning, even like here in California, the left of the left, so I don't see how you could even blame him, with the exception of not encouraging people to wear a mask and other things. And even that, you could say he's listening to the Surgeon General and Anthony Fauci.
Joe?
The thing is, and you'll go through all through history with presidential elections, it's multiple people's faults. It really is. Governors, local level, all sorts of stuff. But the thing is that when you're president, when stuff like this hits, it all ends up falling on you. And that's the problem. And I think and I'll be honest with you, I think that's the thing that Trump can't quite wrap his brain around, because he feels like he's doing things and it's still all falling on him. And he doesn't see that. But, a lot of presidents, they've done a lot of things when shit just happened. It really did. And, and they took the fall for it. Jimmy Carter was not by far the best president. He was a very kind man, and he was very just and stuff like that. But when all the crap hit the fan, he was doing what he could. But he got blamed for the whole thing, and he got out, and that really, that was a polarizing political change in America. And half of the stuff that happened was not, Carter didn't do any of it. He tried to pull out what he could, and that's the same kind of thing. And I really want to say that in a very, very, very small way, I kind of feel for Donald Trump, because he ends up taking the blame for it, and I don't think he quite understands that whole concept.
Joe,
but if you look through history, that's what you get.
You continue like this, Joe, and people are going to stop buying your canned goods. That's crazy talk.
Sloppy Joe is always a winner, guys. Go out to the store, Sloppy Joe, fantastic. I get a nickel every time you buy Sloppy Joe.
Emma?
So I think that there are two topics at play here. I think that what we've been discussing is who is to blame for everything that's happening with the coronavirus in America. And my understanding of the question that Veronica asked are people going to believe that it's not Donald Trump's fault? And I think that there is a case to be made, as Jess said, for a lot of it having to do with the governors as well, considering how few of them listened to the guidelines the White House did put out. But at least from what I've seen, it looks like the White House isn't necessarily trying to shift the blame to the governors. He's trying to shift it to Anthony Fauci or to like a different federal official. And I'm like, it's questionable how much people are going to believe that. If he like kind of broke it down the way it actually happened, there's a possibility. But then he'd also be alienating a lot of governors who are also in his own party.
Well,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Emma.
No, I was coming into an end.
Well, so based on what you just said, more specifically, Trump's campaign team seems to want to put the blame squarely on Anthony Fauci, just like you just said. Last week, Trump called him a nice man who made a lot of mistakes. While over the weekend, the White House put out a memo with quotes by Fauci, most of which were from the early days of the pandemic that turned out to not come true. It's said that Trump often holds grudges against anyone who gets better press than he does, or takes the spotlight away from him. So is blaming Fauci a part of this, or is this a larger attempt to completely discredit medical science when it comes to the pandemic? Stuart.
Well, I think he's legitimately and consistently tried to discredit science throughout his administration. That's not new. I definitely think that he is trying to pin it on Fauci. I'm not sure why he's choosing Fauci as the person to pin it on, to be honest with you, because Fauci is probably the most well-respected in currently in terms of knowledge on the pandemic. Whether he should be or not, I don't know, but I think he is. Obviously, he's not going to take responsibility for anything. I don't think he's universally responsible, but he obviously has a big share of responsibility being the leader of the country. So, ultimately, the only thing I'm sure of is he's not going to take responsibility.
Elizabeth?
Well, I think it's easier to have one target for your scapegoat than multiple governors. That's a much easier route to take if you're going to go that route. And like Emma said, a lot of the governors that did open up are in his own party, so he's not going to want to, lay blame at their feet. So it's easier to have one figure to put all the blame on. And I do think it is a little, because especially in the beginning, everyone was like, oh man, Fauci's going to save the day. We love Fauci. Woo, woo, woo. Yay, Fauci. And that, I can't remember the exact thing, but it really did you could tell it rankled him in the beginning, like back in like March, April. I'd had to go back and research the specific like weekend I'm thinking of, but I feel like there was one where he got a lot of good press, and then Trump was like, well, I'm still president or something like that. But that's the vibe I remember having. I'd have to confirm.
Okay, one more comment, Shayna.
Yeah, it was the weekend that like Brad Pitt they did him on like SNL and all that stuff, and he got real butthurt about that. I agree exactly with you, Elizabeth. But I just want to say about Fauci, from the beginning, he said, there isn't a sufficient amount of information for scientists to give definitive anything to anyone about this virus. So I appreciate him saying that from the beginning. Like even him, he's like, I'm saying this now, but the science is going to change. As new information emerges, the science will change. So even if you look back on him, so they can piecemeal, which is what they've done in a lot of cases, is piecemeal him talking and create a video that looks like he said certain things in a certain way. But if you watch his entire talk or the entire amount of information that he's given, then you can see that he clearly is saying, science. And that's what it seems like it's coming down to me. I mean, people who believe in science and people who don't.
Let me ask you guys another question. Do you think Fauci should quit and then just join that group of Trump staff members that quit, and then they talk about him and his inability to do things? Or is a little Fauci better than no Fauci at all during this time?
You stay in that trench and you keep taking shells with us, pal. You're not going anywhere until you get fired.
I mean, please don't walk away. Please stay.
Nobody thinks he should quit. I don't think.
No. Him walking away would just kind of validate what they're saying. Like, let them fire him. Let him stand his ground. Let him go down. Let him go down swinging.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be the first wife, Anthony Fauci. Stay in there. Make him force you out.
Yes, we need you, Doctor.
Don't forget, though.
Be the Betty Broderick of this situation, Anthony Fauci. Be the Betty Broderick.
There's somebody more qualified we could get, like that's better, got a better track record, because.
Trump is hiring Noah Wiley because he thinks that he's a really great doctor. So he's already got him waiting for me.
And he fights aliens.
Thank
so.
God.
He fights aliens really good.
Mm-hmm.
Does it? Wait, what's the alien role?
What was the show?
Oh my God.
Oh, you know what? I'll look it up because I think I'm thinking of the librarians, not whatever other show you guys are talking about.
There you go too. He can find like an ancient solution. Like
that's what I was thinking.
Like curse, like in the libraries to help save us from COVID. And he's also a doctor. So
thank God we've cleared this up.
Thank God.
So, an ABC News poll released on Friday claims that 67% of Americans disapprove of Donald Trump's handling of the coronavirus. Taking a closer look, only 27% of independents approve of his handling of the virus. With most election analysts saying that winning independents is the key to winning the election, what will Trump have to do in regards to this pandemic in order to see his numbers go back up?
There's nothing he can do. His hands are tied. Like he's at the mercy of whatever the governors and the virus itself is going to do. And I just want to say that it's shocking that 67% of people think that he handled this poorly, when that just shows they don't understand that really, again, his hands are tied.
Well, he's
The
also,
governor's
Dude,
hands
I
are
do
parted.
think he. Oh, sorry.
no. I was gonna say he also he can't really do anything because he's low key at the mercy of the people. Because every time we put out like new regulations and things of that nature, and like how people are supposed to conduct themselves when they go out in public, you got these people out there who are like, "Fuck you! You're taking away my freedom. You're taking away my rights," and they do what they want to do. I'm not saying that they're necessarily the biggest problem, but when you have that in conjunction with what you're trying to solve, you
Yeah, but he also, Chris,
right out
you
to
know,
front.
but he also minimizes the illness. He does do like a campaign, his hate campaign on COVID.
Maybe he
acts
does,
like
but
it's not a big deal, and it's not very, very challenging. You know, the same way he made fun of like people when he was running for office. It's the same kind of manipulative talk. That's what I'm saying. He's using the same kind of game.
It's because he knows people are gonna.
Diminutive. He's doing the same thing with COVID.
It's because he knows people are going to do the exact opposite of what he says. So he's like, don't wear a mask. And everyone's like, shit, wear a mask.
Well, some
I
people.
mean, listen, if he's playing that kind of reverse psychology on us, then like maybe he is doing a good job with the
It's also
coronavirus. I don't know.
not working as well as
I don't think it's working that well. No, I think the issue for a lot of people all along is I know it's sort of there's a lot of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't scenarios with this, but he also just is still doing the lashing out at people on Twitter. It doesn't feel like a strong leadership thing. That's what I think bothers me the most. I understand there's a lot that is out of his control, and just we could see all the videos of people day to day flipping out about masks and whatnot. But I think when they did say, hey, wearing masks is good, I think he could have worn one. And that was like back in April. And I think that like precedent could have helped. There's things like that could have been done.
And that's something that's just so simple. And that's how I feel too. I mean,
but it couldn't have happened because
put on a mask and just tell people, you know what, wear a mask. And he still refused to do that until this weekend, when we finally saw him wear a mask and everybody was like applauding him. Wow, he's doing what he should have been fucking doing like 2 months ago.
And there were so
ridiculous.
There were so many people on Twitter that like I saw this highlighted where months ago they're making fun of Biden for wearing a mask. They're like, that's not a president. And then this weekend Trump wears the mask and they're like, wow, my hero, what a champion of the people. And I'm like,
it took Fox News started running like public service ads with even Sean Hannity saying wear a mask, and I think that's what did it for.
That's what did it.
Yeah, the thing is though, he spent 3.5 years really dividing the country, which is what he wanted to do because he wanted to get his base nice and strong. And then all of a sudden he has this point where he has to unify the country and he doesn't know how to do it because he spent 3.5 years dividing it. So there was really nothing he could do. Even if he wanted to sit down and do like a big old fireside chat and tell it was impossible because, I mean, that was his strategy. I'm not saying anything good or bad about it. I'm saying that was his strategy the whole time is to kind of divide and get his base stronger. But now it kind of put him into a corner, Now, if I was him, I would have said right away, hey, to his base, hey, wear a mask because then the libtards don't know what you're talking about. And, man, they would have just jumped on putting mask on. But he didn't do that, man. He should have done that. It would have been awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so I have one final question in regards to this topic. One expert warned that the president could, in theory, pressure the FDA to approve a vaccine as early as October, and then claimed that he succeeded in ending this crisis. So do you think that is possible? And do you think that enough people would be foolish enough to believe a cure could come that quickly that only the U.S. is willing to use? Thoughts, Stuart?
Well, first of all, it's not out of the question that a vaccine is developed by October. I mean, the fact that it's tested and widely available by then is far-fetched, but the whole scientific world is working on a COVID vaccine right now.
So let me ask you this, Stuart, would you be willing to take a vaccine if it was available in October?
It depends on whether it was approved by the FDA and the trials that had gone into it.
That's
Okay.
a no, honey. No, honey.
No, I mean, I think the vaccine is going to happen sooner than people think, and that's purely, I
think so too.
the entire world, the best minds in the entire world are working on finding a COVID vaccine.
They also all say it'll take 18 months.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Like a minimum,
Yeah.
all of them, like a minimum of 2 years.
Sure, not every scientist says that global warming is a thing. Like,
And
Okay.
and the
I think-
scientific community all agrees that science is trial and error. So
Yeah.
take that into account.
I don't think it'll be widely available or tested enough yet, but it's possible that we'll have a start of something very promising.
How much is it going to be?
You might grow a
That's an important
tail.
question. How much is it going to be?
Yeah.
I mean,
And who
he's
will
gonna
receive
have this
that vaccine?
but
Yeah,
obviously
that's
it's
gonna
not
be
going to be for free. So, well,
Just
you
take
know,
the
I was gonna say, pay attention to who receives the vaccine. If they're putting it out to a lot of people and not necessarily higher up people, then I wouldn't necessarily be taking
Oh, are
it.
you a conspiracy theorist?
Maybe.
You should at Chuck Woolery.
Me and Chuck.
Chris, what did you want to say?
I was just gonna say that the sad thing is like if there is a vaccine in October, the people who are gonna be affected by it are the people who are the most desperate. Because like listen, a lot of people who before all this were living paycheck to paycheck, and now that this happened, they're on the streets right now, and they're ready to get back to work, they're ready to get back to their lives. And unfortunately, if you come out right now and say, hey, listen, you take this and you can get back to your regular life, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to step up and be guinea pigs. And unfortunately, in this country, that's going to be the poor, and that's of all colors and all races. The poor people who are going to suffer the most from it. So, those neighborhoods are going to be hit the hardest, and there are going to be some people who are probably going to say no to it. But at the end of the day, if you see people take the vaccine and then they're getting back to their lives, well, then people are going to start following suit, because if a few weeks go by and we don't hear anything, whether they tell us or not, if it seems like it's going smoothly, more people are going to be, rushing to CVS to get needles put in their arms.
Yeah, and I'm 100% with Chris, and I'd be especially skeptical if it was government doctors trying to give me this vaccine. I don't know if who on here the panel has heard of the Tuskegee experiments, but I would not
yes.
trust.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I meant by pay attention to
Please.
who's
Really.
getting the vaccine.
Who's getting it? Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I had in mind when I said pay attention to who's getting, who is being
Like,
given.
And for those of you
Yeah.
listening
this.
who haven't heard of the Tuskegee experiments, this is a real government conspiracy theory. Well, it's no longer a theory. Just go to Wikipedia. It's horrific.
it's fact. And the reason why a lot of people haven't heard about it is because it is suppressed in a lot of places. The same way that internment camps during World War II for Asian Americans was also not widely, talked
Yeah,
about
it was
either.
an experiment that lasted over
And I
Now,
would
if there is a new
vaccine.
vaccine, if there is a new vaccine and the only place they're handing it out is Las Vegas, don't take it.
Okay.
Well, I also think too,
If there's anything in the only place they're handing out in Las Vegas, don't take it. Anything.
That's a great.
Well,
Oh, I was gonna say too. If there is a vaccine in October, it sounds like it would be like some kind of placebo, and I wouldn't fucking trust that either, because that's like some like some morale shit. It's like, oh, if you take this, you're good to go. We've been working on it. All the greatest minds, as Stuart said, came together and made this. Like, it could be some bullshit. It could be just like fucking crushed up ass
but is
water.
it free? Because I'll take a sugar water shot for free.
and I was reading something. Movies have tricked us into they're working on the vaccine and they pump it out in 3 months, like the Contagion movie everybody watched at the beginning of this. Which, why would you do that to yourself? Why watch that movie right then? But I was reading an article that was like, yes, it's a very good dramatization of a really extreme scenario, but on the flip side, what's not good is that they come together and make the vaccine for everybody, and it is in like a matter of months, when realistically, as we've said, it's like at least 18. And I was told that when I was checking out of the hospital in March, so that means I'm bad at math, hang on, 18 months, at least September next year. Is that right?
None of that's definitive.
Yeah.
It could be 10 years. It could be,
Right.
Right, but the first like real vaccine is 18 months away.
Okay,
at the
so
least,
with that,
as of March.
So with that, I want to move on to just one question. I'm going to pick some of the topics from the top of the show and ask you one question about them. On Friday, Jada Pinkett Smith released a new episode of her Facebook series, Red Talk, in which she and her husband, Will Smith, sat and had an incredibly uncomfortable conversation about her and her entanglement, as she put it, with R&B artist August Alsina. After the video was released, Will Smith got destroyed on social media by both viewers and celebrities like 50 Cent, who couldn't believe that Will could sit there and listen to his wife talk about having an affair with another man without being visibly angry. My question is, do you think the public's perception of Will Smith is going to change after this, and will it be harder for him to land leading man roles? I just want to start by saying that I was only able to get through the first 6 minutes and 44 seconds of that interview. I couldn't watch more of that.
Oh, I watched the whole thing, Veronica. I watched the whole thing. Oh yes, because it got shady. There were moments where it was definitely shady as couple back to forth, where they were just like, it was, I mean, there was like, because there's a point where she was like, where he says, I'm going to pay you back though, in the interview. At the end, he says at the end of the interview, but I'm going to get you back. And she was like, and she looks at him and basically goes, oh no, I think we've done that. And he's like, okay,
who are they talking about?
But you know what I mean? So it's like, it's already like, maybe she was paying him back with August for a cheat that he already cheated. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's a story there, Veronica. There's a story there, but it's scandalrific. Elizabeth's piping with the story. Go. Oh, the tea, girl.
The rumors that were circulating at the time several years ago was it's Margot Robbie, because they were in the movie Focus together, and she got fast-tracked into Suicide Squad. And I don't, no disrespect to Margot Robbie, I think she's really good. And that is just a rumor. It is not confirmed. There's no corroborating. It's an allegedly. And that was like one of those, if anyone's been on the website Crazy Days and Nights, it's like one of those kind of rumor things. But as far as his perception in the public, like, yeah, he got roasted this weekend, and he's a bit of a meme now with that one shot of him, like, looking, I can't quite pull off the face, but he'll bounce back. People still like him, and he is, men bounce back from this in Hollywood in particular so well. He will be fine. Jada will probably not be getting roles too much going forward. She will be the one being punished by the public. He's gonna glide out of this fine, and that's.
But I thought we're supposed to celebrate power, like women taking power and all that. Like,
well, it's confusing because of we are supposed to celebrate it, but people still judge way harsher than they do.
The tables would have been turned. What if it was Will saying this to Jada? I was wondering about that this weekend. I mean,
either way, to do it in public is fucking rotten. And now he got cucked in public. I don't think most men will ever look at him the same. Like,
I mean, but you also have to keep in mind that this is also years ago. This happened years ago for them. Yeah. So this is not current relationship shit.
Still in public.
Oh, hey, I'm not saying, but I just do mean that it's been years. So his reaction, I think, will also vary, because a wound that you get when it first fucking happens is a lot different than your reaction 7 years later and it becoming other people's business. Because that's basically what happened, is that we found out about it. If this happened, because they're saying this happened 4 or 5 years ago. So if that's the case, then it's just like, well, because y'all found out about it, and then because the Black Twitter sphere got riled up about it, now we've got to bring it to the world and talk about it and do a red table.
Well, let me read a couple of things she said. She said, I was in a lot of pain and I was very broken. I just wanted to feel good. It had been so long since I felt good. And while she's saying this, Will Smith is nodding. And I was just like, I was like cringing. I'm like, oh. And you know that Red Table Talk has 7.1 million followers.
Yeah. I'm one of the
Really
followers.
bad
I've watched her
shit.
other talks. I've watched,
and
they've done a lot of different shit. They're very real.
Yeah, he's come on in the past and discussed their marriage in detail as well, about not cheating, or if they are cheating. It's hard to tell if they're open relationship. I don't know where we've all landed on that, or even where they've landed on that. But you know, they came out. He was on there. They discussed their, you know, some of their harder like marriage moments. The one that sticks out to me is he was throwing her 40th birthday party and she wasn't into it. She didn't really want to celebrate it the way he was planning on it, and that was like a big friction thing with them. So they've been very, like, I think, real as you can be in public and what they're putting out in public. Because I know, Jess, you were saying like, oh my God, they're saying all this in public. He's being cucked in public. This is what they're telling the public and showing the public. It's still
worse.
But there's still plenty going on behind closed doors.
Well, you're asking if this is going to affect his career, but I think Will Simp was having problems anyway before. You know, Gemini Man didn't do really well, and then Will Simp was in the Bad Boys, but then COVID hit. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe Will Simp will, bounce back. But, I mean, he's already been having problems as it is.
Yeah, I was reading some tweets, too, and a Twitter user said, using the word entanglement instead of adultery, now I've seen and heard it all in 2020. And a lot of people were speculating over Will's eyes. They said that you could see a lot of pain behind his eyes.
Oh, he definitely looked like he cried. He looked like he cried. Like his puffy was.
Well, the thing about it is, at the end of the day, here's the thing that you got to look at it like this. All right. So, you know, you got these people who are in the spotlight. They're public figures, right? If they have an open marriage, that's their private life. What's fucked up about it is if they're gonna have this life. Now I'm gonna say some shit that people might not like, but at the end of the day, Will had his hoes in order. Okay, they didn't come out talking in no interview talking about I sucked his dick and did all that. Like I had these emotional like. You don't see nothing. If he fucked Margot Robbie, you don't see her in an interview talking about the relationship that they had. If he fucked Eva Mendes, you don't see her getting on the interview talking about shit. So if Jada got side pieces, she needs to keep them motherfuckers in check and let them know what the deal is. Like, you don't talk about this shit because look, at the end of the day, he could have got on that interview and they could have asked him about the information. Or he could have been like, hey, look, we're friends and that's all that needs to be said about it. Let's move on. But he decided to divulge that information, no matter how hurt he was by her. I know people were like, well, you know, that's emotion. No, fuck that. That's you let out private shit that didn't need to be let out. And now Will Smith has to do damage control. I don't think his career is going to be affected by it. So let's just, knock that. Let's just get that out there. But at the end of the day, it's like now he's got to deal with the public on this shit that should have been private. And that's the bullshit about it. And that's where I see this whole thing. It's like, yeah, of course he's hurt and damaged, like, you know what I'm saying, by this, because this is now he has to explain it to the world, like, well, me and my wife have this thing, and of course too, you got to also look at how we are as Americans. Not a lot of people are open-minded enough to believe in an open marriage.
Or forgiving enough to forgive a cheat.
Not even cheat. I'm just saying. Here's the thing. But that's the thing too. But we don't know. But we don't know she cheated. He's saying that we cheated.
I'm not talking just about her. I'm talking about both of them.
Well, at the end of the day, I'm talking about this specific situation. But it ain't even about that, because at the end of the day, if they do have an open relationship, if at some point in their years of marriage,
Will's having his hose in check. That's why I said that, Chris, because you started it with Will's having his hose in check. So that's the point of the open marriage. I mean. Yes,
but that's what I'm saying. That's if the open marriage. If they have an open marriage, he got his side pieces in check, because they ain't out here confessing no bullshit on a motherfucking interview trying to get clout. But Jada got her side niggas on interviews trying to get clout. And that's where he fucked up. What I'm saying is like, listen, America doesn't understand an open marriage. But here's the thing. Now we look at a couple like
waiting to come on. I'm sorry, Chris, I have to cut you
off.
off.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
cut me off.
It's okay, Chris. While we're waiting, let's get our hose in check.
Okay.
Yeah, get our hose in check.
And she kept calling him Augie. That bothered me too. Okay, let's get
Yeah.
Let's see where Jay's at. Hi, Jay.
Hey, what's up?
How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fantastic.
So how's it going? How has this whole pandemic thing been working out for you?
Well, as you can see, I grew a beard and grew my hair out because I feel like if you don't do that in 2020, you did not experience 2020.
That's very true. So, we actually only got to do 2 shows this year, and you were the musical guest for our very first show. So it's nice to see you back here.
Oh, it's great to be back. It was a great time.
So you do a lot of commercials and you get a lot of commercial work. When did you start going out for commercial spots?
I think about 8-9 years ago. I went to like an acting school because I was in some failed boy band at one point, and then I came back from Germany and then I took an acting class, and I found out you can make money through doing commercials, and it's like one day of work pays you all this money, and I'm like, I want to do that. And in the beginning I didn't make any money or book anything, and eventually I got lucky and did like a car commercial, and then like Burger King, Wendy's, and recently I just did in March, like a Burger King commercial where I was talking about COVID and how Burger King's staying safe.
We actually have it on screen right now. Yes, we're playing it right now.
Oh, fantastic. That is amazing.
Now, one of your most famous commercials for people that don't know is we know exactly what to do when we have a structured settlement and we need cash now.
Oh,
the Wentworth commercial. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, how that came about? How that came about. There was actually a contest for like to shoot a video and record your own original song for J.G. Wentworth, and my buddy met me at like a mall. We were drinking coffee. He's like, "We should form a boy band and do this," and I said, "No, it isn't going to work." So we did. Him and my other friend, and I wrote the song, produced the track, recorded it, and we shot this video in a day, submitted it. And lucky enough, we won the contest that became the national commercial. So, we got super lucky. If it was a SAG commercial, though, we would have been rich because it played all the time.
Oh, man. But you did pretty well with that.
Yeah.
So with production reopening, do you know anything about that? Like, how are commercials going to start shooting again? Or, can you talk a little bit about that? What changes are going to be making?
Well, I mean, from my agency and managers, what I hear is actually like commercials and film is like 98% down, and they were reopening with phase 1, and now a lot of things are shutting down again. So I have no idea. I lucky enough got a job behind the scenes for American Idol, so at least I'm working during the pandemic. But as far as like being an on-air talent, I think it's going to be a while till like traditional commercials and film are really like booming again.
Yeah. Now I want to talk about Idol in a few minutes, but I wanted to ask you too, because of, they're not shooting a lot of new commercials, have they been showing old commercials? And do you catch yourself on TV once in a while? Like, hey, I remember when I shot this.
No, I mean that would be amazing. But I do think they're showing old commercials. But they are like, I do think some companies have pivoted and tried to do like at home type of film style. Because I've seen some auditions where do you have capability of filming yourself at home? And so a lot of companies have been trying to do like at home COVID safe type campaigns.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you did mention American Idol, and you were a casting producer for the next season. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I originally I was on America's Got Talent like 2-3 years ago, like in this comedic boy band called Five Alive. And through that, I built relationships with people behind the scenes. And I actually worked for America's Got Talent for a bit too. And Idol last season, and this year they bumped me up to casting producer. So yeah, lucky enough to have a job during this is crazy. I can't believe I'm even working right now.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. I have another question for you.
Cool.
I was doing some research on you. You won a Latin Grammy as a songwriter.
Oh, true. Yeah. So how that worked was I wrote a song on Don Omar won the hip hop album of the year for the Latin Grammys, and I wrote a song that was on that album. So technically, I won a Latin Grammy.
That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be bringing on some of our cast and crew that are going to be coming on. They might have some questions for you.
Cool.
Let's see who's on. Okay, guys, this is Jay. I think some of you might have been in the show that he performed at. So does anybody have any questions for him or anything you want to say? Anybody? Elizabeth.
Do you have a preference? Do you like acting more? Do you like the musician part of things more? Or do you like doing both?
I would always prefer to be a musician, but to be real, it's kind of an ageist type of sport where youth is everything. So my pop star days are done. But if I had my choice, I would want to record music and sing songs. I would want to be 21 forever, if that makes sense.
Anybody else? Anybody? Oh, Emma.
So as a performer, what drew you into producing? Is it like what interested you in that field that made you want to go into it?
Producing like behind the scenes, like for TV, or like producing music? Yeah. Okay. So, well, I didn't really know that I wanted to produce for TV. It kind of fell into my lap, and I realized how amazing it is to actually work with singers and help them pursue their dreams. So not that I live vicariously through them, but I empathize with singers wanting to get on a show and like living their dreams. So as a producer, I spend time with the talent before I even bring them into Idol. So I kind of pre-screen everybody and kind of prep them, because I feel like a lot of times in Idol and these shows like The Voice or AGT, like, maybe you choose the wrong song choice. And if you have a couple tips, it'll just kind of clean it up and hedge their bet. So as a producer, as a young producer, my goal is to give them the best opportunity to, fulfill their dreams, as cliche as it sounds.
Anybody else? Okay, so Jay, we have one final topic that actually has to do with music. Do you want to stick around and join the discussion? Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay, so today is the 25th anniversary of Live Aid. 35th, excuse me. Today is the 35th anniversary of Live Aid. On July 13th, 1985, some of the biggest names in pop and rock music came together at 2 concerts in London and Philadelphia to raise money and awareness for the starving people of Africa. The concert ultimately made $127 million for their efforts. It's now 35 years later, and if you look at the Billboard Hot 100 charts, other than a few songs by people like Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, Harry Styles, and Ariana Grande, there is almost no pop music on the pop charts and absolutely no rock at all. So with that said, I want to ask you, are pop and rock dead or dying? And if so, what will it take for it to be resurrected? Jess.
Yeah, it's dying or dead. I mean, it's like the jazz age. Jazz was the thing for a while, and it was extremely popular and extremely influential, and then gave birth to all sorts of other genres, and that's where pop and especially rock's already gone there. And if you're in a rock band, get out if you plan to make money, because it's not going to happen. It's a niche thing. So where's it going? I don't know.
Joe?
I don't think definitely rock is completely dead. I mean, music goes in and out. Music constantly changes, and sometimes it goes into hibernation. But if you listen to like, you go to right now and listen to 95.5 KLOS, and they're still bringing out new rock bands, a lot of them that I really, really like. It's just they're not hitting the masses. But, some music goes down, it hides for a while, and then it comes back up. I mean, you think about when we had heavy metal and we had grunge, and then we got hip hop and things like that. Music is secular; it goes in cycles, and so it's something that may not necessarily be hot now will come back around again. So I really don't think it's fair to say it's dead. Let's just say it's having a nice hibernation.
Hey,
yeah.
Go ahead, Jay. No, go ahead.
Sure. Okay, I agree with. Was that Joe?
Yeah,
I agree with Joe, because I'd love to see like a Blink 182 like punk band come back, and I think music goes in cycles. There's always going to be young teens that are right now I guess it's like trap and hip hop, but eventually it'll go in cycles. I think we'll have like a big pop influx again, and I hope for like a young punk band to come back.
Emma?
So I've never been a musician, so I don't have the personal experience, but just from my cursory knowledge of music history, there is a little bit of a cyclical nature to it, but I think it's more about the way it changes and evolves. Jess brought up jazz, and like jazz is not gone. People still listen to jazz. It's still on Spotify, like you can find it, but it's not like on the Billboard Top 100. So like, rock will still be around. People will still listen to it because it's awesome. But I think that you're going to have that morphing into something different, and that's also wonderful and cool. And I'm excited to see what that is.
Okay, Shayna.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that pop music is just morphing and merging with other styles and other genres, creating new genres. I mean, even 3 years ago, people wouldn't have said hip hop and country would have been, one of the top songs happening in the country right now, but it is. And there's not just one of them, there's a few. So it's like, but I know country purists are like, feeling that this is not the country that they signed up for. In terms of country music, not America, for those of you who maybe misunderstood the comma there. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I just think it merges with other styles and creates a new style. So I don't think, pop music has been doing that all along from the beginning. Because it's the shortening of its name is popular music. So it's the music that's popular at the time. So technically hip hop right now is popular music because that's what's on that's what's on the station.
Hey, Elizabeth?
Yeah, because the example that leaps to mind too is like Post Malone. Like, is he considered? This is gonna make me sound so old. What is he considered? Is he a hip hop artist or a singer or both? Because I can't think of the name of the song that running around in circles.
Postmodern purists call him a vocalist.
Okay, yes. But that's what I'm thinking of, because I'm like, it's kind of hip hop. It's kind of a pop song because it's like a love, very, to me, traditional kind of like love song where we're pulled and torn apart, that kind of thing. So yeah, not to dwell on it, but the genre, pop genre, seems to evolve, I think, the most over time. If you were to play a pop song from the 50s to kids today, they'd be like, that's not pop music, or what I think of, traditionally as pop. It definitely, it changes and gets influenced.
Put your foot in the door with however you got to do it, and then add your influence to it, and change it, and move it, and that's how music changes. Music adapts. Music is alive, and it's constantly changing and adapting to its society. Oh, I wanted to say real quick, if you think rock is dead, listen to maybe some Violet Saturn or some Dirty Honey. Really, really good stuff. It's all new stuff. You probably haven't heard of it, but
I love Dirty Honey.
Dirty Honey's great.
I love Dirty Honey.
Violet Saturn, please listen to them. They're really great. They're brother-sister band. They're out of Malibu, and they're fantastic.
Oh, cool. Now, I have one final question before we go today. If we were doing Live Aid today, who would be the top 3 acts, do you think?
Oh, see, I'm already because we don't have the Concorde, because Phil Collins started the concert in England and then flew on the Concorde and ended it in Philadelphia, which was really awesome. But that's because he was blown up at the time. I thought it was pretty neat. We don't have the Concorde now, so you can't do it. You maybe put the concerts closer together.
Stuart, any thoughts on the top acts?
Still have them in England and Philadelphia, or would it be different?
Sure. Doesn't matter.
I think it'd probably be BTS, Ariana Grande, and Bieber.
I'd throw Drake in there too. I think Drake is on top of the bill.
I'd say Beyonce. Taylor Swift, I would think, would be involved. Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, probably.
It would kind of feel like Coachella almost, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We probably get the same access.
Oh, Gaga for sure. Gaga would definitely have a set for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got our artist who can be at both places. It's Tupac Shakur's hologram.
Oh, there you go. So with that being said, that's our show for today. Thank you so much for joining us today on TMI Daily. And we'll see you back here again tomorrow at 6 p.m. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.